Welcome to Founder Tactics, a podcast about entrepreneurs and the communities that shape them. I am your host, Julia Lucidi. Today, you'll be hearing a conversation recorded live at the Fort Lauderdale Tech Meetup with Eduardo Ibrahim, CEO of Humana.AI and global faculty at Singularity University. We go deep into how AI is reshaping the economy, the future of jobs, and what this next wave of technology means for all of us. Eduardo brings a rare mix of technical depth and economic perspective, connecting everything from individual productivity to global income shifts and new business models. This episode explores big questions about creativity, automation, opportunity, and how AI can be used to expand and not replace human potential. If you've been wrestling with understanding where the economy is headed, this conversation will broaden your perspective. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and follow the podcast on whichever platform you're listening to us on now. Now let's dive in.
It's amazing to be here with you, Julia.
Such a pleasure. I'm honored. I see you traveling the world, doing speeches all over, so we feel very lucky to have you here with us today. Our community is just now getting to know you, so I would love to start by perhaps an introduction about you, who you are, the work you've led, and also what got you first started in working with AI. So maybe we can plug those two in together.
Okay. When I think about AI, the first thing that comes to my mind is the way the computers are built. I was a early uh, young guy in Brazil as a programmer. I started to programmer when I was 15 years old. And after that, I worked with different companies, software companies, consulting companies, and I start with AI when I turned to BI, business intelligence, and BI start to use machine learning. And this is something that we call in general now as analytics systems. And my last executive position was in the biggest Brazilian oil company, Petrobras, is the Exxon from Brazil. And I was the head of analytics for financial area, and I left the company when we were in the middle of Lava Jato. Many of people heard about that.
So Lava Jato was a big scandal that there was in Petrobras, this
Yeah.
oil and gas company.
Yeah.
So that was in the middle of that you left.
Yes, I left in that time, and my father, he's a former Petrobras employee, and because I passed in first place of the national test to work in the company, my father thought that I could be the CEO of the company, but he was really wrong about that. And I left in that time. Then I moved to California. Was my first time leaving Brazil to work abroad. I went to California. I had a lot of friends working with tech in Silicon Valley, and it was 10 years ago, 2015. Wow, 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years
Flies.
ago. Yeah, yeah. And I reconnect with a lot of friends who used to study and make research with me, and they were working with the major tech companies in Silicon Valley. So I did a kind of sabbatical during 1 year there. And in that time, it was my first time that I connected with Singularity University. I was an executive in their executive program they have inside the NASA Research Center in Mountain View. I don't know if everyone knows about Singularity, but it's an institution of corporate innovation. Was founded with Google directors, and Google is the other side of the highway. They in Mountain View, and this because Singularity become very famous. All the exponential things that we talk about today, because the 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 acceleration of digitalization, it started in 2008 with them talking about that. and everything since there become exponential. So my contribution to the institution was to write the book Exponential Economics, and this is the way to see how the economy is changing because of the digital age. And now my second book that you have here, only in Portuguese for now, it's about an AI-driven economy, how the AI can be driven the economy that we are used to follow a model that is changing a lot because this new mindset of use AI. So since there, I was a student in Singularity University, then I became a professor, and I passed all the pandemic in São Paulo, in Brazil, working with consulting, with researching in AI. With I did a TED talk in 2008 about AI before AI become this hype. So I was working with this. I was working in the airline industry because my research was in the behavioral finance area, and I started a company to see how prices for airlines could change using AI and behavioral finance theories.
So I'll add a little bit to that. So one of the things about your story that I thought was interesting was that you found a challenge that the airline industry faced, which was how to manage pricing for flights. They had no idea how to manage them, how to optimize pricing for corporate flyers or for people who are just flying personally. And you were able to develop a company that solved this issue by using AI. Is that correct?
Correct. And I talk about this in the TEDx, and everything the company started with my problem. In that time I was living Rio, and I have a girlfriend living in Sao Paulo, in the countryside of Sao Paulo, and every time that I took that flight, the flight was empty.
So it's a 45-minute flight from Rio to São Paulo, a very common flight
Yeah,
that folks take.
exactly. And because of that, I talk about this in the TED talk. uh, we had problems in the relationship because we couldn't see each other frequently, and it was a problem in my life at the time. And then I decided to create the company to try to fix these empty spaces in the airline industry. And when I got there, I studied very deeply all the problem, and I see an opportunity to use AI in behavioral finance. And we did it very well. In Brazil, we had five major companies. Now we have four. Uh, and all of them were my clients. So I was working very close with them. The company was running well. And then came the pandemic.
So because of you, are we paying more or less for flights? That's what my
My intention is to pay less for sure.
Right, right. Okay, so then the pandemic hit, and is that when you transitioned over to consult
Singularity.
to Singularity? Okay,
Exactly, exactly.
okay.
That was for my transition to Singularity. They invited me to be a professor there, and it was in this transition. It was in 2019, in the end of 19, and the pandemic come in the beginning of 20. So it was my transition as a startup founder at that moment. So it was the executive to startup founder to professor, researcher, and consultant with Singularity. And now I'm in a new journey. It's my second book, so I'm still an author. But now I'm also a startup founder with my new venture is called Humana.AI.
So you bring a unique perspective as an entrepreneur, but also as an educator and somebody who's looking kind of at macroeconomic trends and how AI is impacting all of that. So, what exactly is exponential economy and what is AI driven economy?
Exponential economy is everything that we can be digitalized and change the models of the economy. Uh, in my two books, they are in the core of the concepts, there are two different formulas. The first book, the two equations. The first book is how the 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 macroeconomics we change as much as technology we have in the economy. So as much technology we have, everything become cheaper because the marginal costs they become lower. So I create a formula is weak. If you can find this in Wikipedia too, uh, and try to explain and to prove how this technology will make the all the economy products cheaper. And the second book, the equation of AI-driven economy, is how we are changing the way to create value in the companies, because we are used to create value with this triangle of processes, technology, and people in every company. But we don't know how to create intelligence with this triangle. We have intelligence uh, very separated there. And now we have AI. So AI is a new way of thinking about how to create value in the companies. The way to show this transition is when you think about exponential economics, it was about the digital transformation, and the AI-driven economy is about cognitive transformation. We are living now a cognitive transformation. All the jobs that we have, we use process technologies as tools and human intelligence to make these companies better. Now we have this cognitive technology that brings more intelligence to all the structures of the companies. And this is a new way of creating value.
So, how do you see that impacting the economy? So, essentially, what you're saying is AI has become more of a cognitive reasoning. It's what we see with ChatGPT as an example. And it's a little bit of what we discussed previous to this, right? AI is growing at a rapid rate, but I don't personally see that our society is adapting it at a fast rate or businesses are adapting it as at a fast rate. What would it actually look like, or how do you see AI being applied to the economy, and like what does that process look like? Because I don't see that adaptation. I see a lot of people talking about it,
Mhm.
but little application beyond ChatGPT or even like wrappers around ChatGPT
Yeah.
or other large language models.
In 2018, I was also the beta tester of OpenAI. So I have access to the early stage of the company with all the APIs, all the models. And in that time, we have access to, to a kind of documentation that they don't have available right now. And this documentation was talking about how this technology was growing faster than the exponential growth of the Moore's law, who shows how the processors of the computers they can double of capacity every 18 months or 2 years, but the AI was doubling every 3.4 months. And to put in perspective, they did this maths from 2012 to 2018 when I had this access to this documentation. And if more laws was used at the time, the processment would double 7 times. But with AI, this was doubling in the same period 300,000 times. To put in perspective, how it was much more faster than the past way to see this. And the point is, we have like amazing technology ready in all the big techs to solve any kind of problem in the society, any kind of problem in the economy. But we don't have the companies and the economy prepared for that, because you have a model for industrial age and we have technology for technological age. And for me, the next decades is going to be working on this, how we change this economy from the industrial age to the technology age, because it's not more it's not a tech problem anymore. It's more people, because we have to know how to deal with this, and business problem.
And you say that AI, you see AI being a empower of people, but nonetheless, it's going to create more efficient companies. And doesn't that equal to reduced headcount?
It is for sure, and this is why actually my in the past my clients used to be from IT area, so like CIOs. Now most of my clients, they are from HR area, because it's about the workforce transformation. The workforce is all the job description are changing, and the HR directors, they want to know how to deal with this transformation. And every HR director, they want to have less headcount. Every HR director in every company is not something about AI. Uh, but the truth is, they still want people to be responsible for the processes. That's for me. That's the major difference. Uh, when a technology comes from IT area, it's just about to replace people, and when this comes from HR area, is about how to change these jobs, this job description. Sometimes is with less headcount, but still putting a human in the loop to be responsible.
So, what are the skills that you see that the new workforce that we need to develop today to be equipped to be in those roles and leading those processes, right? As and staying competitive in the market.
Yeah. Um, it's more difficult for me to talk about that without a slide, but I'll try. Normally, I try to compare how the works change during the industrial era. We have like physical strength, mechanical automation, and cognitive works. We do cognitive works right now. The all the office jobs are cognitive works. And after internet, we start the digital transformation, and many of the cognitive works start to become automated. And then we start to automate with AI, which puts AI as a thinking uh, thinking technology inside the processes. So it's not just automation of process, it's automation of thinking with AI. And after that, we're going to have what I call a meta cognitive work, which means we have to use AI to solve the problems, and we have to supervise supervise the AI. And this make the way of humans thinking be more critical, more accountable for what AI is doing, and more creative, with more vision, with more perspective.
So, what does it mean to be good at supervising AI? Like, what would that look like?
Normally, to make this comparison, I use in my slides the picture of Einstein as the major human intelligence that we know, major symbol of human intelligence. But most of the people, they don't know that Einstein didn't like mathematics. We think about Einstein as a genius in mathematical logic, but he was not. And he was talking about this all the time. He used to say that the person who was good with math in his house was his wife. She was good. Yeah. And but in the academy was another guy helping him called Marcel Grossman. And no one knows his picture. This is why I showed two pictures. And Marcel was the logic and the mathematical guy to create the general relativity theory, was the most important theory in the world for physics. And I chose these two comparisons to say everyone now who has human intelligence and want to be useful in the economy has to think like Einstein used to think, not just logical. He was to think about imagination, about creativity, about vision, about perspective, about vision. He was a human who wants to solve the problems in the world with his intelligence. And the math that Marcel Grossman was doing was super necessary. It's necessary to have precision with mathematics to prove any concept. But now everyone can have a mathematician like Marcel Grossman in the pocket. And this is the new way of thinking. We have to come with the creativity, imagination, and vision and perspective of Einstein and use AI as a Grossman. But most of the us, we don't know how to do this yet because we are in the end of the industrial revolution work transformation. We are still there. We didn't move to the technological age of work yet. We are moving. We are in this process. These guys who are studying right now, probably in 10 years, they are doing this. The comparison that I do with the young professionals and us old professionals is that no young guy is going to work in a company in 10 years that's not an AI driven or AI native company
Right.
because they are not prepared for that. And they shouldn't be because the world is going to be AI driven. And these professionals, especially the kids, the teenagers, I have a story of a friend who said me that his son, with 11 years old, asked ChatGPT to win over a girl in his college.
Or school.
Yeah, in his school. Yeah, thank you. In his school. And the father was surprised with that and asked him, "Why did you do this and didn't talk to me, to your dad about that?" It was a daddy issue, I think. And he said, Daddy, I asked ChatGPT because ChatGPT has more experience than you.
Wow.
You was married with my mom too early, and I know ChatGPT has more experience than you. So normally I do this comparison to say, imagine this guy. His name is Bernardo, the son of Danielle. In 10 years, he can't work in a company without AI all the time.
Yeah.
He will not know to do this because he is growing, talking to ChatGPT about his personal life. Imagine his professional life.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. Now, taking a little bit to the perspective of the startup founder, of the builder, we see a lot of startups using AI just as a wrapper, right? Not really providing something innovative. And it seems like these wrappers are much more short lived. Do you believe that startups can actually compete with AI, or is big tech just going to swallow them up?
Yeah. It just happened like 1 or 2 months ago. OpenAI launching their agent kit, which is no code for AI. And there was many companies doing no code for AI, and OpenAI killed a lot of them. One really good company doing this now, maybe some of you are using, is N8N. They are amazing and they are good in this competition because they are agnostic to models. So they are not stuck to OpenAI. They can use any model. And then they have a lot of other features too. But I think this is an example of if you build something just on top of the models, the big companies they can do this in the future. If you think about creating best PowerPoints or best documents. Probably they are going to do this. Now they are connecting any other app. You can connect Canva and Gmail, G Drive, everything there. So if you think about to create this kind of application, just adding AI there, I think it's really risky
Mhm.
to try these things. What I believe, and I was having a conversation with Mesquita, who used to be or is still a software engineer, and I said, normally there are many people coming to AI industry right now, not from software engineers sphere, which is amazing because I think AI is not something only for IT people.
Mhm.
It's something actually that put the power of technology in anyone's hands.
Mhm.
But everyone has to think as a to AI as a system. AI is a system is in LLMs are just a gene. When I try to make this comparison, I say AI is the brain, LLM is the brain, and what you building to last should be the nervous system.
Mm.
If you create the nervous system and you use AI as the brain, probably these big techs they can't create the same nervous system that you are creating
Mhm.
because there is intelligence there
Mhm.
and it's not just a wrapper on the top of
Mhm.
LLM.
Mhm. I'd love to open it up to the audience and make this a little interactive. Perhaps you guys have some questions about either the market, your business. Who has the microphone?
If you want to automate HR processes, which will eventually could potentially eliminate jobs, two things. How would your startup or your business model address? Number one, if they have a broken HR process, and anybody in the room that has applied for a job understands what a broken HR process is. Number one. Number two, how would your business model or company overcome the human aspect of it, that being the fear factor? How do you engage and win over the hearts and minds of employees, HR specialists, that this is their subject matter expertise? And if I share my knowledge, and if I help you as the AI expert automate my job, what do I do? Right? So there's two aspects to it that I would love to hear your perspective on how your business model and your startup addresses it. One, broken business processes, because you don't want to build your AI house on quicksand, okay? Because junk in equals junk out. And then number two, the human aspect of I am the HR expert. I don't think anything's broken. I don't think I need automation. And if I help you, I don't have a job.
Yeah, it's amazing question. By the way, thank you, Lisa. Um, a lot of things to add us there. Where I trying to summarize, we are living in an age that is changing much faster than our institutions are prepared for. This is a fact. This is not me. It's not San Altman. It's not any other tech guy you're going to talk about. Uh, but it happened in the past already. For example, when I talk about the industrial age, uh, we probably had like 100 employees, 100 people carrying, how can I say, uh, land for move land from one place to another. Yeah,
Oh, like sand or
sand,
whatever
exactly.
it might be.
Moving sand to construction. 100 people to move and then become a truck that can replace these 100 people with physical force. This happened already, but we don't talk about this anymore because now we are the people with the cognitive works that's probably going to be replacing many areas. And now, especially the driver that's the driver of the truck who replaced the physical force, now the driver is being replaced with autonomous cars, with autonomous trucks. And so this is a natural movement of the economy. It is not like about capitalism. It's about the natural economy. Economy is very rooted in the nature, and the nature has the same kind of process of making things faster and cheap in terms of effort. This is nature. Economy comes from there. But the real truth is the institutions are not prepared for that. That's the hard truth about that. You talked about a PhD, right? You did the PhD. And the first model of reasoning of OpenAI is called O1. A year ago, they do GPQI tests with a PhD test, general test for humans. They score better than people with PhD. So what OpenAI did a year ago was proof that these models, they are smarter than humans with PhD level 1 year ago. And we still don't know what to do with this because we want the PhDs in our companies for different departments and they are researchers. We have a very famous researcher in Brazil who did exoskeletons, um, Nicolelis. You know Nicolelis?
I don't.
Okay.
Sorry,
in the World
barely
Cup,
Brazilian.
no, in the Brazilian World Cup, he puts a guy, a paraplegical guy, to walk in these exoskeletons.
Paraplegic? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's it helps them give their structure to their body so that they can walk.
Yeah.
It's a machine. Mhm.
Yeah. So he's the most famous researcher in Brazil, and he talked that he don't want to see AI making peer review of researchers, which for many people is amazing because AI has more information that most of the reviewers, researchers, and there is no bias. You know why we always say egg is good, egg is bad, meat is good, meat is bad, milk is good, milk is bad, is because every peer review of research has some bias. And what AI is doing now is putting away the bias of a researcher. And this could make our health better because there's no lobby with AI to make these peer reviews. But the most famous researcher in Brazil, he doesn't like this because he doesn't want an AI doing his job. And this is everywhere, is in us. We are worried about that. For me, what's going to happen in the next year is that every professional that wants to be relevant in their industry, in their market, should become an AI implementator. If you are a lawyer, you should be an AI implementator in the law sector. If you are an engineer, you should be an engineer implementator of AI in your company and in your industry. Because this is a giving data. The economy run like this, and we will run faster now because of AI in the same direction.
Thank you for doing this. You mentioned before that you were on the team that had tested out ChatGPT early on before public release. So I'm asking this question with a bit of like that as context. A lot of us here, clearly the conversation is about it, are excited about AI now, but maybe in a few years, I feel like the conversation may change and the level of resistance is going to be a lot higher. I feel like the AI companies like OpenAI, all of them have to be preparing for this in some way. They must have teams internally that have these conversations that that are putting together plans for how to address this at the point where job loss is really high. Um, the meaning in people's lives are going down because they don't have jobs. Do you have any insight that you could share about how these companies think about this and how they're gonna face, like, what's absolutely gonna be resistance coming in the next few years? I doubt people are gonna be excited for, the release of 6.5 if it means that another 10,000 people lose their jobs. So, yeah, just curious on your thoughts, and thank you again.
So when you think about the economy, if you think about close uh, half of the jobs that we have now, 50%, making an easy math here that's the institution are not prepared for is just to cut the half of the hours of the workers. Just this. But the economy that we live in right now is not prepared for that. But some people aren't talking about this. Bill Gates are talking about this. We're going to have 3 days weeks if you want to have the same amount of jobs. It's simple like that in macroeconomics talking, okay? But our culture is not prepared for that. People are not prepared for that. The economy, the industrial economy that we live, we should work more hours and pay less. But but the math doesn't close because in the end of the day, to the dynamics of the economy works, we workers, we are the consumers, and we have to get the money in the hands to consume of this company as are producing. So for me, one of the ways they are doing this right now, and they did during the pandemic, was a kind of UBI, universal basic income. We did this test during the pandemic. We didn't notice that, but we did in Brazil, in US, uh, because people they didn't have work, but they need the money to make the economy works. So the problem in the economy is if you just have the UBI, we don't have the incentives to thrive in your work. This is human nature. And this is why you have less hours of work for me and for Bill Gates is a better solution than just give UBI.
I saw just today that Anthropic's new model tried to blackmail somebody. I don't know if you are familiar with this case, but I'd love to hear more about kind of some of the safeguards and risks around AI, especially in an environment like that.
I normally say that every time I see one of these news about blackmailing or talking different languages between AIs, the first word that comes to my mind because of my age is Skynet from Terminator. It sounds like Skynet, and normally these news they don't tell all the history there, uh, all the story. Thank you, all the story there because um, normally it's something that someone tested or someone gave it a go without uh, any preparation for for the outcome, and you see this answer there. Normally, something like that is not that bad as the news looks like. And when I think about security of AI, what I say is, us as humans, we have the biological safety already. We have all our biometrics, okay? The eye, the digital. We have all these biometrics, and AI can't do this. So uh, every system that needs this kind of security has to have the biometric security, and it has to have the human in the loop to change the course. I can give you a really bad example that happened maybe 3 years ago with the because I was working with airlines. Ethiopian crash. Did you see this? Two Boeings. Actually, probably you saw the other news about the Boeing here, and the fail was in the automatic pilot with a feature of AI, but it wasn't the AI the problem. It was the sensor of the in front of the plane. The sensor got freeze, and the data didn't come to the system well, and instead of correct the flight, the system was correcting down like this, and the two planes that crash, they crashed like this. It was terrible. Yeah, it was terrible. And where was the fail there? Was not giving the option to the pilot to correct the level of the airplane. It is basically for this is why Boeing had a lot of problem with the law because of this. Is basically for any autonomous system that are using AI. You have to have biometric security and human in the loop to correct anything from AI.
I noticed in your bio in Singularity that you have a lecture on the psychology of stupidity. So my question is, since AI is being mostly trained on human knowledge, and most humans except us in the room are mostly stupid, they have bias, they have they believe without proof, they have racism and all kinds of errors. How do we, instead of creating artificial intelligence, are we creating artificial stupidity, and how do we prevent that? And can AI think differently than humans? Should we train it on human models, or should it have a more unique way to train it? Because I see it's using public data. And in that case, if it does become not stupid, then do we become stupid? And does that give justification for it to eliminate us? So
First of all, as much as I use AI, as much I feel I'm stupid. Yeah, that's true. But what you saw in the website of Singularity University about me was my early ages talking about AI. Probably, I don't know if you saw my picture. That's very different. I was younger. Yeah, and the psychology of stupidity is a term that behavioral economists they use. So we don't do in the economy in financial decisions. We don't do rational decisions. It's something very well studied by Nobel Prizes like Daniel Kahneman or Richard Taylor from Chicago. So this is a term of behavioral economics uh, a- arena. Okay, and this is true. They study this a lot. We don't do rational decisions for finance. And one easy example of this is when a stock is going under, you want to buy more to make a average price. This is completely stupid, but people still do this because if it's going down, something is bad happening there with the market or with the company. But we have our bias, the risky aversion bias that we have inside of us. We don't want to to tell us or to tell our friends, our family, that we lost money in that. So you get more risky in that investment just to have the chance to not looks like stupid. But in the end, we are stupid when we're doing this. And this is very well studied.
I have a sort of a two-part question, but they're related. Is
sales and retail slash restaurants. So I have a technologist friend who loves the idea of a restaurant that will make pizzas that with robots. And I said, I'm from the restaurant industry originally, and I said that there's going to be two types of restaurants, in my view, is that there's going to be the ones that people are going to go and have humans serve them and humans cook because people are going to feel like I want a human connection. And there'll be other people that want to go to a restaurant that is quick. Everything's quick, done. You put your order into a screen and it just comes to you and you get to interact with your friends versus a waiter or a waitress. Is there something that I'm missing? Because that's what I envision in the future. And then the second part that's kind of tied to that is salespeople. Sales is not based on rational all the time, as you were just saying, right? It's based on relationships. So, say I sell airline parts, just because it might be make sense to have a good deal through an AI, you put something through AI, this is the right person to go with because it's the right price. They can deliver it in XYZ time versus 5 weeks later. But the relationship is strong, I think, of somebody saying, well, look, yeah, we're going to be a little bit longer on this lead time, but we've been doing this business together for a long time. It's not all based on absolute numbers. Any thoughts of
Yeah,
the role of the salesperson
yeah,
in the future?
for sure. Thank you, Julian, for the question. Um, the first one about the restaurant. If you have this restaurant, I think you are safe, and people want to go there because of other people serving with their friends, etc. But if you think about McDonald's, we don't care about that. If McDonald's is fully automated, no one cares. But your kind of restaurants, people cares. So we can't think just about a waiter or someone serving there if you don't think about where this business is right now, what kind of business we are talking about. So it's not for every business that every business is going to be automated. McDonald's probably, your restaurant probably not. And when you come to the sales, it is almost the same. This company that's my client in Brazil, I told you about, they sell something very basic with a margin very small and for teenagers. So when they compare their product with the competitors' products and their clients who are thinking about the price and short memory decisions, short-term decisions, uh, it doesn't matter much. It can be doing by AI. But when you think about my sales in my company that I sell for senior executives in the company is about relationship, as you said. So for my clients, doesn't matter. For me, the way I do sales is not going to be doing with AI. So again, you have to think about which kind of business you are.
My question has to do with writing and the books you've written. You know, Hemingway wrote every morning. I ramble into ChatGPT with a mic on, and it assembles everything for me, and I write that way. How do you write with ChatGPT?
My first book I wrote in the beginning of the pandemic. I took like a year and a half, very depressed in my closed apartment during the pandemic in São Paulo. Was terrible because I'm from Rio and I was in the winter there, was super cold. I was writing was my escape, by the way. Writing was my escape in that time. And I wrote the book during the 1 year and a half. I launched in the end of 2020, so 2 years before ChatGPT. And I had ChatGPT test in my book because I was beta tester, and I used to write some paragraphs in my book. And my second book, I put my way of writing from my first book, and I start to see how the ChatGPT would produce the new text. And of course, as I said before, we have to be the responsible and the supervisor of the AI. But in the end of the day, the text that the AI did was really, really good, and with my way of writing, because they had the source, my first book. And about the analogy that I did with the guy from math with Einstein, Grossman, my first time to validate my first equation in the first book was terrible. It was a lot of work. I showed to my friends that were better than me with maths. Actually, it is the only thing that I have similar to Einstein. I hate math. Is this the only thing? But I have to work with other friends, and this was really painful. And now I worked with AI, and it was really easy. My formula is better. The second formula is better, more mathematical validated than the first one, and it was faster because of AI. More precision and faster.
All right, so we're going to take one more question. I know that there's a lot of you folks that want to ask questions, but I don't want to hold everybody here too. But I mean, after this question, folks that want to like stand up, go network, feel free to. I don't want to hold you guys down. We may just informally take a few more. There seems to be a lot of questions, but after this one, I just want folks to feel free to roam around if you'd like to. Go ahead.
And my question for you is, we all know that LLMs are probabilistic systems, and they generate an answer that is not always the same for the same question. Could you share your perspective on how agentic systems or multi-agent systems could be used reliably in complex processes to generate outcomes that are reliable and deterministic in a business setting?
This is the next steps of use of AI, is moving from LLMs and agents, which are LLMs with some specification, and then we are moving to agentic systems, as you said. And this agentic systems is much like find the patterns of thinking and use this with LLM. I'll give you an example. You can make, for example, a documents, law documents, or a law document review with different LLMs, for example, Claude and Gemini and OpenAI, and you create a cycle of thinking where one LLM validates what the other LLM did. So this is a kind of partner called reflection that when you go to agentic systems, we have a lot of partners right now of thinking that are making the answer of the LLMs much more precise. So this is another breakthrough, because as users, we are used to just ask one question, waiting for the LLM to summarize and give you an answer. This is why every time the answer is different. But when you create this partner of agentic systems, the answer is going to be more and more precise. And then thinking this about the research, the medicine, the law sector, the engineering, we are not going to have all these hallucinations and all these errors, because everything supposed to become more agentic. And this is the neural system that I was talking about. If you have a startup and use this neural system with agentic partners, you're going to have a differentiation in the market for sure.
You were talking about cognition, right? And I have heard about ASI, which is um, super intelligent AI, something like that, right? So my question is, will it be constrained cognitive intelligence that human has right now, or it will surpass the intelligence of human in some way, and then what it's gonna pass, what's gonna be, what kind of intelligence is gonna be that one?
Yeah, we can't predict that. The super intelligence is supposed to be all the general intelligence, artificial general intelligence connected. So I think the only way to think about that is imagine that every human brain could be connected and find solutions for the world. We can't imagine this. And with ASI is the same. Something is going to happen, but no one can predict why. What? The founder of Singularity, he says that in 2045 is going to born the first immortal human because we're going to be able to reverse aging. And supposedly die is going to be an option. A lot of philosophical question and economic question. If you think about the how we call previdência aqui,
Social security?
social security, they have a mortality table, right? You have to die with 80 years old, otherwise you're going to be poor. In Brazil, it's true. They changed a lot of this timetable because of that, and it's going to happen probably in our generation. We're going to live for 100 or 120 years, and the social security is not prepared for that.
As an author, I'm sure you take a lot of time to write books. And with AI, a lot of people don't really books nowadays. So I wonder what are the challenges that people will be facing that are striving authors to become like New York best time selling authors. Like how does AI is gonna influence us to get there, if that makes sense? Or will people even acknowledge or respect New York Times best selling authors since AI you can literally just go in there and just like read it yourself, if that makes sense?
Yeah, actually, I had an interesting experience here in Miami when I moved to Edgewater. There is a guy. If someone is living close there, I suggest to go and see. There is a guy that I think he's a homeless, but he's every morning riding with a laptop in front of him. I know him because I walk there every morning, and one day I start to talk to him and ask what he was doing. And he was writing. And I bought one of his books. It's a poem book. And I asked him, do you use AI to help you to write your poems? And he told me that he's using to get inspiration. He puts his words, but sometimes when he has to think about something, he asks AI, what do you think about that? Can you help me to think what I'm thinking? So this, I think it's a good way to think about the creative work of an author. Otherwise, you are in the risk to become the McDonald's of the bookstore.
Those of you who are like ready to stand up and go get water or network, you're free to. Um, for like the I don't even know what it's called in English, bees. Like when the when the singer is like gets off stage and they're like in Brazil we go bees 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 and it means we want them to come back. Encore. All right, for those of you who are here for the encore, maybe we can take a few more questions, yeah? All right. This is the encore crowd. I've never done this before, but I just feel like we're in this like cozy fireside chat going deep into what the end of the world is going to look like. And I'm just digging it.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to say that this has been fantastic. Your insights have been incredible. So, when you were talking, well, my name is Fernando, by the way. Uh, when you first mentioned that you were from Brazil and that you have experience in different nations, uh, the first thought that came to me was, what's gonna be the actual gap? First of all, the generational gap between the people that is not in the IT industry, but in other industries that are maybe going to retire in 10 years, uh, how do you see, or why do you see these people are taking longer to adapt to this change? They're not, it's not something they're implementing in every company. And the second thing was that AI brings a gap that we have never been seen before, primarily between the countries, the most developed countries that are able to pay for huge data centers, even though these, generate uh, X amount of toxic or contamination, and it has a huge economic price as well. Do you think these will make the developing countries, South America, Africa, yeah, will this gap just makes will make the richest countries richer, and it will create ec- uh, a monopoly on a sense in which information and data, yes, it's at the hand of everyone, and when you understand the AI, you can solve a lot of questions. But then the people that don't have access to that, how do you see that in the future? Because when you mentioned that you read this documentation from OpenAI back then, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that OpenAI was back then a non-profit, right? So the research and everything that they were doing was completely different. And then the last question, it's a lot, but the last question was that now that they're pricing on different models, uh, will that again generate another gap between the people in countries that are able to pay $20-30 to have this model that is cognitive superior to the people that maybe, okay, I have the access to this tool, but I'm using the free version? Is there a huge gap between what you pay and what people that don't pay have access to, if it makes sense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Fernando. I'll try to remember all the questions. Sorry, but I think the core of your questions are about the infrastructure, which is very expensive right now. It is, but it's more it's more like a marketing thinking, the a marketing think that which really is. And I can give you an example. The model of a OpenAI GPT, they expend like billions of dollars to training. Then comes DeepSeek and spend $5 million, like a really small amount of that. And this is becoming more and more common. There are many other open source model right now. Kimi is one really good that I recommend you to test. That they don't spend all this money to training, because there is a way to training using a pre-trained model. So every time you train a model, after another model is going to be cheaper and cheaper, and this is a exponential effect with costs, by the way. So it's not going to be a problem to train models anymore, and it's going to be cheaper. So this is in some ways is going to democratize these models. People are going to use it cheaper, but now every company wants to monetize that, so they don't want to sell very cheap because everyone needs right now. So for me, is in the future is going to be the democratization of intelligence. And when you think about South America or Africa, we have a huge gap of education. We have a huge gap of talents to run the economy, to make better companies there. And as you have this intelligence accessible, this country can make better companies, better institutions, better organizations there with this kind of technology democratized. So I think this is the future of the intelligence being around, artificial intelligence. Okay.
Yeah, the second part of the question was like for people who use the free version versus having more access to premium versions, will there be a massive gap in capabilities and access to doing
Yeah.
things, I guess?
Today, this is a reality. And I can give you an example too. In my company, all my developers, they use the most expensive license of Cursor to generate code. The basic license is $20 or $30. The most expensive is $200. All my developers, they have the 200 license because the the difference is giant, is huge. So I prefer to pay today because of this. But in the future, I hope it's going to be cheaper.
I wanted to circle back to our first question. And there was the MIT study that came out a while ago that says that, well, 95% of companies are experimenting with AI and trying to do something with it. Only 5% of companies are actually having real results. And if I recall the paper correctly, it suggests that the results were from entrepreneurial teams that were able to apply the AI in a new and novel fashion in the company. And that gets back to what you talk about, us being at the end of a process-driven industrial revolution and coming into this, technological cognitive revolution that is with AI. And my question to you is this, is since we're moving this way, if we were to start a company, and this is for the founders in the audience, how would you start a company that maybe isn't an industrial process driven company with the idea of integrating AI into removing processes or automating processes, but designing the company from the ground up to be an AI centric company, maybe with only a single founder who's super empowered? I know that the template doesn't exist yet, but have you been seeing anything that's working? Which way are people going?
Normally, I say to the IT executives, to CIOs, that there is a good news and bad news. The bad news is every system without AI become a legacy system. And this is bad because most of the people, they don't like to migrate legacy systems. But the good news, and this is why I think is very suitable for founders too, is that there is a huge opportunity for companies there. Because if every system without AI needs AI and every process without AI will become an AI in the process, there is a work for the next decade easily for everyone in tech industry. A lot of work to do. The way to look at this is what kind of process you're going to focus on, what kind of industry of company you're going to focus on to move the systems without AI to the AI age, because this is inevitable. Even the big consulting firms and the ERPs like SAP or for startups, Odoo. I drive here. I'm a user of Odoo in my company. Odoo is a small ERP for startups. They have like many signs on the on the highways here.
Yeah.
Uh, and the systems is going to not exist anymore if they don't use AI. And now the systems, they are putting AI on the top of a legacy system with something that is necessary right now, because if you don't talk it to your CRM records, or if your BI dashboards, you don't want to be there. You want to at least talk to the data. But in the future, all these ERPs, they are going, they will become conversational systems with all the functionalities in a conversational UI, like ChatGPT. If you didn't use yet ChatGPT with all the integrations, I recommend, because when you see how the integrations works and how the agentic systems are validating every integration, you understand how the next systems are going to run.
One, are there any AI systems that are not LLMs that have any promise, like more reasoning based? Because it seems like a lot of the LLMs, they kind of like need data. You were talking about your book. Oh, it needed your first book. So are there any other non-LLM AIs that could maybe be a separate path to AGI, or maybe a combination of both? And then the second is probably, if you know Ray Kurzweil from the Singularity, right? So I think that last time I saw him in the Emerge conference that he came to talk here, I think he said it was like 2028 was the Singularity, but it kind of feels like we're already there. Like, if this is not already like the Singularity, if I remember correctly, it's like the computers are learning faster than the humans, right? So, I mean, if we're not there yet, what does that mean? And like, when is it gonna happen? Because it just like, it's already crazy. So how much crazier it's gonna get?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know him and all his theories very well, and I don't know if he said that or me talking many different events. This come to my mind, but for me, there is no like a deadline to see the AGI. This is already happening. This is already happening. When you talk about a reasoning model that can rev thinking better than a human PhD, for me, this is AGI. They can have better solution than any other really trained human with biological cognition. So for me, the technological AGI already happened, but people don't realize that yet. And the first question was, got you. The specialized systems with reasoning. Yeah, I think every intelligence systems without neural networks should be replaceable, because this is the amazing technology behind the LLMs. And when we did, and I used to do a lot of machine learning in the past with different models, this was really painful for a data scientist. And now LLM does every model, choosing the best model using the own AI. So for me, it doesn't make sense if you're using any machine learning or reasoning system legacy that doesn't use neural networks.
Good evening, Julia. You rock. Let me just say, this is great. I come from a cybersecurity background. My question is, because I speak at schools all the time, what are we going to tell our kids to start learning while all this is simmering? And what courses, what programs, where do they need to go? Because they don't understand anything about it. They don't understand critical thinking or emotional intelligence, which is really what I care about. I care that it's safe and secure, legal, ethical, moral. They don't know what that means. So where do we start with our youngsters as low as middle school, working their way up?
I have a very good friend who wrote a book about the future of the professions, and she believes that as much as the IQ is going to be democratized with AI, the EQ will be more necessary. The heart, exactly. Yeah. So normally, the name of my company is Humana because I also believe that as much as technology does our work, we have more space to be more humans. Because in the end of the day, we didn't realize that because we were born in the industrial age. We are just a gear in the economy engine. And one question that I do in my lectures is, who are you without your professional surname? Because sometimes people think I'm Eduardo from Singularity or Eduardo from Humana, Eduardo engineer, but who is Eduardo without all these last names? And you know what's the most common use case of ChatGPT as a therapist? Is the most common use case of ChatGPT. And this generation that are coming, the Bernardo, the teenager I told you about, he's talking to win over a girlfriend in his school. He's also having emotional conversation like a therapist with this AI. And it sounds a bit weird, but think about our generation. How many people had access to a therapist? So the therapy and the mental education, let's call this, is also being democratized. People are going to have more access to this. And this is the way the change we educate ourselves and all the humanity.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eduardo.
Okay.
This has been a treat. This has been
Thank
super
you.
cool. I just felt like there was an opportunity for us to geek out together. And those that don't want to geek out, that's okay. But this was just really nice to be able to like pick at your brain and bring all the questions from everyone here and even the folks who left. I love it when our community leads the conversation. My role is just to find great people, kick off the conversation, have the EQ to read the room, to do something I've never done before. We've never gone till 8:45, just opening an encore session. So I felt like it was what we needed tonight. So thank you for making that space. I really felt that coming from you all, with your great questions, with your generosity and being here. This is a lot of work for me to put it on every single month. This is my business. A lot of people are like, oh, so what else do you do? This is what I do. And so I really just feel very honored that you guys would, go with the flow and enjoy this moment. I certainly did a ton. So thank you to all of you. And thank you, Eduardo. That was another episode of Founder Tactics. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get updates on new episodes, live recordings, and everything happening in our founder community, make sure to subscribe, follow, and rate the podcast. And also, you can head to foundertactics.com to learn more about our work. See you next time.